but we have to remember we have. So Michael, you are a young activist, and I would like to know how you became an activist, because you were a keen skipper, you liked competition, and you were on your boat, and maybe you didn't think so much about biodiversity. So what happened? What was the switch?
I think it's all come together along the years. Every time there's a new switch coming up, I think we all know that as we grow older and older. I did do a lot of competition, but I was also very aware of what was underneath, because I was very lucky to swim at a very early age and wanted to know more about this. It's this curiosity in humankind that we need to know things. And so I started studying marine biology. But I was also very lucky to play violin and study music as well. And so to have a foot in both worlds, I was able to kind of stay out of it to see how obsessed people can become with one particular thing. And so that's where I think today what I'm looking to do is to bridge these both worlds and multiple worlds that I get to meet along the way. And so that's when I started sailing and doing violin and bioacoustics, all of that together. Which then brought me also to the things that were not going well, of course, because when we discovered things, I can just briefly talk about marine biology when we were in my master's. We all just became depressed about how all the things we were learning were just so bad, and we were supposed to stay positive and find jobs and make money and all that, and it just doesn't make a lot of sense. So I decided to leave on my sailboat, which was fun for a while, but then also I realized that it was important to come back on land and do things importantly, and to use this voice that I hope I keep growing over the years as well, and which brought me to deep sea mining, noise pollution, all these subjects that are so far away from us that we cannot hear. And so this is where music comes in, because we all an interesting way to bring it back to science would be how we always need more science to defend something. And I'm so frustrated with that. We keep having to dive deep into things, need more science all the time so we can make laws and then protect it. And we know everything we need to know to do what we need to do. And so it's a saying, we actually say that very often in deep sea mining, that we know more about the surface of Mars than the deep sea. And there's a study that came out not long ago that says that we actually know a shit ton of stuff in the deep sea, and we know enough that we can actually protect it. And so I think we really have to be careful to not get caught up in this thing of knowing more so we can protect more, and just using what we already have, which is already incredibly a lot of information. We know so much stuff. And I think it's really important now to start acting. So that's where also meeting so many incredible people from indigenous communities, I think that's another switch. In Europe and the US, we do not have this connection to nature that is in our ancestors. Like, I cannot talk about ancestors because we don't feel that. And so we have to go find that somewhere else. So we're very lucky to be able to be in contact with all these amazing people here today, because in our towns, we cannot meet them in the streets. And if we say that we have to take the airplane list because it consumes too much CO2, then we won't be able to go to these places. So I think it's really important to try to feel it inside. And it's quite violent when you realize that you don't have this connection to nature, that you can't count on your ancestors to have that voice. So we have to try to find it all together. I think when we all realize that we're all interconnected, like many people have said here today, we all feel that we have something linked with the tiny species that is somewhere on the other side of the planet. There's this spirit that connects us all together, but we have to go find it inside. So there's knowledge, there's sharing, there's yelling, of course, as an activist. I do yell a lot, I love it, it brings me together. It makes friends as well, realize that you're not alone. But there's also a lot of work, I think, on the inside that we have to do, each and one of us on our own, and then come back together and do wise choices.
Thank you. And young people lately have shown us courage and determination, absolutely, in all of those movements. I have a question, Captain Watson, because you have been obviously involved in direct action all your life. You absolutely believe, as
But I think, yeah, it's something we really need to use and allow as well. We have to feel things, to be able to put words on it. I think dancing is also very powerful. All of these things, they're things that we have intellectualized in our society. I grew up with classical music. It's very rigid, it has to be perfect, it has to be perfectly executed. And so I think I learned afterwards that you can actually feel it from the inside. And once again, indigenous cultures have these powerful songs, have these powerful dances. We have a very much more intellectual way of seeing it. And I think we all have to go back to something more natural and just feel it. So I think that's what I'm trying to share whenever I can.
Runa, you mentioned before that it's holistic, your project, because it touches the health of the people, poverty and elevation, climate adaptation. So maybe we tend to forget in our world now that everything is interconnected, that it's a difficult word, but intersectionality, that the fight is really for everything, for inequality, against inequality, against all what is happening. So explain what you think.
I want to come back to a little bit about what you said. When you live in a situation where you are not officially recognized as
Continue.
nearly 1/3 the population. Whatever happens, and those are things which are where you become an activist, you are either killed one day, or the next day your organization is closed down. So, we need to fight against things like that, and I need to fight, as you have said, keeping a vision, but with a solid step by step by step by step going towards that. So I knew I was not going to compromise on any way with anybody that I could not have the people that I'm reaching whose lives are improving. 7.5 million per year is what we are trying to do. And we are doing actually, some are doubled, but mostly it's beautiful. And these lives that we are touching, the ultra poor, the difference between ultra poor and poor, well, the difference between rich and poor is like this. The difference between ultra poor and poor is like that. Simply because they are on this fringe of, on this thin line of life and death. They're living on the fringe. So, I worked with them, trying to bring in the right things at the right time, in the right way, in the right amount, bringing in tools and understanding of what they needed step by step. So in 25 years, we have people who were living in little homes, but bringing to them health, because when you're wounded and you're suffering nothing else, you don't think of anything else. Not even education, not even food. We needed to address that. Then there are front lines of a storm, cyclone, losing homes, migrating continuously. And we needed to reach them with dignity so that when we leave them behind, they could continue. For example, you will never see a friendship staff on a boat where people come and they are in the water and we are giving them aid. No, we are in the water, they are on land or on a boat and we give them aid. This dignity is for sustainability. So little things like that to ensuring that they are getting operated when they are not having, for eyes or orthopedic surgery. The whole range needed to be done, and we needed to do it quietly. Once only we could ensure, and we saw that people who were eating $5 a month now needs 5,000, then we could bring it out, and it was the example which we have set. And this holistic way was the only way, because you cannot put in one project into a mire where no one can use this project after you leave, because it gets diluted. So you needed to do layer by layer, create a platform on which people can stand and not quicksand on which they were existing. So, and this holistic method is in the mindset. We need to be holistic about understanding that the rivers and the silt and the soil which comes down moves. Islands are going to break. I cannot have things which are land-based. We have to have mobile systems, and needed to find that people who depend on us have that comfort of knowing that we are dependable, that we are there. They needed to have that security to be able to even take risks in their lives. So, and we needed to work with the environment, we needed to work with the water, we needed to work with the land breaks, we needed to work with poverty alleviation and governments which don't even recognize them. And in that, trying to be, people call me an activist. I'm not at all an activist. I just want to survive, and survive ensuring that the 7.5 million people whose lives that we are changing comes along with this survival every year. And to do that, if it's activism I need, I have to do it. If it is tools I have to use, I will do it. Whatever it needs, I'll do that. And I think that is the only way for passive aggressive people like us to ensure that what we have envisioned is what we are going to meet with and find in the end. So holistic is a way that for us we have to go.
Before we give the floor to the audience for a few questions, Gerd Peter, for you, what is the most important tool?
Je rejoindrai ce qu'a dit le classique Taou. J'ai vraiment l'impression que c'est qu'on a perdu du terrain sur un aspect fondamental, en tout cas sur cette cause, la cause de la protection de l'Amazonie. J'allais dire qu'avec toutes les attaques que ces peuples subissent en permanence, c'est ce qu'ils nous disent, souvent on n'a même pas le temps d'être dans nos villages et de s'occuper en fait de nos jeunes, de les préparer. Alors comme l'a expliqué le classique Taou, ils sortent du village, ils sont pas préparés à notre mode de vie, ils sont perdus, ils ont accès aux boissons alcoolisées et ils ne reviennent plus dans les villages. Ceux qui sont dans les villages aussi maintenant ont parfois des téléphones portables, ont des connexions internet, ils ne sont pas préparés non plus, ils ont accès à des choses qui les déstabilisent. Donc après avoir milité auprès d'eux pendant des années et voir à quel point on perd du terrain à ce niveau-là, c'est très inquiétant parce que quand on va dans le village, on se rend compte de cette réalité-là, par exemple du classique Raoult. On voit bien que les jeunes sont déconnectés avec la réalité du village et c'est effrayant en fait. Et j'ai vu souvent à quel point le classique Raoult était déprimé de retour au village en disant mais je me bats pour eux et en fait je suis en train de les perdre. Et donc de voir que ce jeune chef qui a voyagé, pourtant le classique Raoult ça fait déjà plusieurs tournées internationales et puis à un moment il a décidé d'arrêter de voyager, de rester à l'intérieur du village. Ça fait une quinzaine d'années qu'il n'avait pas voyagé à l'étranger. Et de voir qu'il voilà, y en a quelques-uns comme lui qui ont compris qu'il fallait se focaliser sur ce point. Et on a eu envie vraiment, nous, à Planète Amazon, à partir du film qu'on a fait ensemble, Esmeralda, qu'on voulait déjà faire en direction de la jeunesse, on avait prévu de le faire, puisqu'on fait parler des jeunes aussi, on fait parler 4 générations dans notre film. Donc là, on a eu envie de monter un grand projet où, en effet, on pourrait avoir un projet passerelle entre les jeunes d'ici, qui, il ne faut pas se leurrer, non plus, ne sont pas préparés correctement. Il ne faut pas dire que les jeunes français, les jeunes européens sont préparés. Quand on va dans les écoles et qu'on leur montre les films, ils ne connaissent absolument pas ces enjeux-là. C'est pas que ça ne les intéresse pas, c'est qu'ils n'ont pas eu accès. Quand on commence à leur montrer ces images, ils sont attentifs et après ils ont envie d'en savoir plus, ils ont envie de se connecter. Et donc je pense que la solution, et le classique Taou est d'accord avec moi là-dessus, c'est de faire des échanges interculturels entre ces jeunes Européens qui vont voir des réalités qu'ils ne connaissent pas, peut-être être un peu plus regardants sur leur choix de vie. Et à l'inverse, ces jeunes Kayapos qui ont besoin aussi de comprendre que leur culture est formidable, que leur terre est quelque chose d'extraordinaire et ont envie de la défendre en renforçant leur culture avec ces nouvelles technologies dont ils parlent et en faisant ces échanges-là. Donc là, on a par exemple pour la COP30, avec ce projet, on a commencé à faire travailler des jeunes d'ici et de là-bas sur un plaidoyer commun en faveur de cette éducation qui doit être renforcée, tant l'éducation climatique que cette éducation différenciée qui est si compliquée à mettre en place, mais qui doit être mise en place par eux-mêmes, avec leur propre curriculum. Donc voilà à mon avis, là où il faut aussi mettre beaucoup d'énergie. Ce serait bien qu'à la COP 30, on porte aussi cette demande forte, parce que c'est dans les textes, comme beaucoup de choses, hein, l'éducation climatique, elle est dans les textes, mais les efforts ne sont pas là. Donc voilà, ça serait aussi bien si on pouvait porter cette voie-là.
Alors maintenant, c'est le moment pour ceux qui ont des questions à tous nos panélistes. Voilà, il y a déjà une question en premier rang.
Alors, je ne sais pas si c'est une question, mais en tout cas, ce sera clairement une intervention. Quand vous parliez de moyens, je pense qu'une des raisons pour lesquelles on est dans cette crise climatique et environnementale, c'est parce que au niveau des législations, surtout la législation internationale et internationale, on a des lois qui sont complètement anthropocentriques. Et tant qu'on ne mettra pas des éléments égocentriques dans le droit international, on ne donnera pas le sérieux qu'on doit donner à la nature. Et moi, je représente l'Histoire écosystème internationale. Et une des choses que nous faisons, c'est que nous souhaitons que l'écocide soit reconnu comme un 5e crime de la compagnie internationale pour justement ramener cet élément égocentrique dans le droit international. Et pour l'instant, c'est un mouvement qui marche plutôt bien. Je vais aussi ramener un petit message d'espoir parce que